Welcome to LIS754, Systems Analysis and Design. And in this session, we are going to talk about user interface design. Through the course of this entire session, we are going to talk about definitions of interface, have a brief overview of what we mean when we talk about a user interface. We're going to talk specifically about a type of user interface design called user-centered design. And we're going to work through steps to designing an interface. And this is going to be divided up over a number of videos that you will find on Canvas. We can define the user interface as the entire process by which people interact with the computer system. And this entails software and hardware, screens, menus, and functions, output and features. We are going to focus in this class and in this session on screens and menus and functions. We could certainly talk about the hardware. There's lots of different devices that help people input data into a system. There's issues of, using different kinds of technologies. But we're going to focus, because we're working towards a systems design for our systems that we've been working on all semester, we really want to focus on screens, menus, and functions. User interface design is a subcomponent of a larger field of study called human-computer interaction. This is a very large and complicated field with lots of different specialties, including user experience design, doing the physical tracking of how people physically see the parts of a user interface. There's all sorts of different skill sets that can go into designing user interface, and that's why we in this course and in this class are going to limit what we look at in terms of interface design, looking at screens, menus, and functions. I'd like to do just a few minutes talking about the three U's of interface when we talk about utility, usability, and usefulness. People, when they come to a system, generally have a task that they need to perform, whether it's getting ordering something from Amazon, whether it's doing a search in Google, whether it's registering their children for summer camp. No matter what it is, going to a library to search for books, whether it's finding a company to pave your driveway, what we're looking at is we're trying to make it as easy as possible as we can for people to accomplish a specific task. So when we think about utility, we're thinking about how a system provides the features and functions that people need, whether it's displaying information appropriately, whether it's gathering information, whether it's displaying information that the organization has, whatever the utility is that the function that people need, that's what we're trying to provide. And you've thought through some of those things, some of those utility issues when you did your use case design. When you were doing your use cases, you came up with scenarios where people came to your system to perform a specific set of functions, whether it's to register for the system, whether it's to register kids for school. No matter what it is, you had a set of utilities, functions that people needed to do. We think about usability as how easy and pleasant it can be for people to use these systems to accomplish their task. And there's a huge body of work talking about usability, and there's a video on Canvas that will describe Jacob Nielsen's 10 principles of design. He was one of the very earliest people thinking about usability of systems, and his work really ranks among the top. And so we'll think about how we can make the utility that people need to perform, the functions they need to perform, to be as usable, as easy, and pleasant as can be. And when we can do those two things, when we can bring usability and utility to a system, we get systems that are useful. And that's what we really want. We want to be able to create systems that are useful, and that they are both useful and they have utility. This is one of the most interesting concepts that I have encountered while I've been doing work on designing user interfaces. And this is something that was developed in the late 1990s by a woman whose last name is Carrick. And she talks about designing systems for users, thinking about the user's rights. If we have a conceptual model of what a Bill of Rights is for users, we can design systems that will meet those needs, that will respect those rights. And this is these Bill of Rights. There's a air travelers Bill of Rights. There's patient health care system patients bills of rights, and this is for a generic Bill of Rights for computer software users. And I thought these were very interesting. So perspective needs to be that the user is always right, just like the customer is always right, the user is always right. If there is a problem, it is the system's problem. It was a design problem. It was an implementation problem. It is not the user's problems. Users come to use systems because they want to accomplish a task. If they can't accomplish the task that they came to do, it is the system's problem. The worst system I ever used under this idea of perspective of the system is the Duke Energy. That when I lived in Indiana, Duke was the primary energy producer, and I was never able to accomplish anything. I'd spend 20 minutes trying to do something on the computer system, on their system of fixing something with the billing system or trying to get it to be automatic pay. No matter what, I always had to end up calling someone, and that was an unpleasant experience as well. But they did not take that idea that the user is right seriously. Installation. The user has a right to install and uninstall software and hardware systems easily and without negative consequences. I was working for a while with a group of people. We were trying to create workflows for researchers to be able to deposit their data into a system called a repository system. And we put together a whole set of workflow components using a product from Microsoft. And the product worked great. It was really straightforward, but the installation process had 7 steps where I had to go and find different pieces of software on the Microsoft site and do all those installation steps myself. And it took me, and I'm a pretty savvy user, about 6 hours to install the base software. And we decided that we couldn't use that software. We could not use the Microsoft product on which we could build our workflows for this project because it was so hard to install. It was unrealistic to expect that any given user could spend 6 hours to install software. So even if you put everything together nicely, it would still take hours and hours to do. That system did not respect the user's right to have an easy installation. We have rights as users to a system that performs as promised, that it needs to comply with its promise to do these specific tasks. So if we go to a system to set up automatic billing for our electric bill, it should be able to do that. We have that right. The user has rights to easy-to-use instructions, that we should be able to use a system and recover from problems easily and straightforward, and without having to read huge documents with complicated rules and instructions. Users have the right to be in control of the system, not to have the system control them, to be able to get responses, to be able to do work in a way that makes sense to them. Now, sometimes systems have to have certain pieces of information in certain order. That's understandable, but we should be able to allow people to be able to work in a way that's comfortable for them, and to be able to get information to them and from them in a reasonable way. Systems need to be able to provide feedback. Users have right to understand what's going on clearly, in clear language, with information that's accurate. So if a process has to work, take a few minutes to process, the system needs to be able to give feedback to the system. I was on a website making reservations. I was making airplane reservations, and the system came back saying, "Please wait. We are processing your request. This may take a moment." It was very useful. That feedback was really helpful to me, to not just keep clicking as I am wont to do. I get a little impatient sometimes and overclick, but I got feedback, so I didn't have to. I knew that it was processing. When it came back, the system processed it. It came back with a confirmation. It was really straightforward. I find that when I use Orbitz, it goes, when I do a big search on, if I'm looking for air flights again, Orbitz gives me good feedback when it's searching the 20 different sites that it searches to get me all the information about available flights. Dependencies. The user has a right to be informed clearly about system requirements for successfully using hardware. So if there's a specific product for a PC and a specific product for a Mac, it's really important to know that, right? So to not allow people to get the wrong system, to buy the wrong system, to install the wrong system. I've had that experience recently where I downloaded the company did not inform me that the product was only for a PC, and so when I installed it, it clearly wouldn't install. So dependencies are really important. We want to make sure that we make that really clear to people. And I've had experiences that were much more pleasant than that one where I had the wrong version of Android, and it knew it early enough to not take my money, to not let me make a mistake. So that was good. That system was clear and made it easy for me to understand the dependencies of that system. I need to be able to know the limits of the system, that I may not be able to sign up for the automatic billing online. I may have to call the company for that. You want to be able to know how useful this system can be to me. I want to be able to have good assistance, and the system should be usable, right? I should be the master of the software, not the other way around. And there is, again, as I said before, a video on usability on the Canvas site. So we are going to work hard to design interfaces for our systems that are going to respect the rights of are users that are going to be usable and are going to be centered around the user. And so we will continue on talking about these issues in further videos. So if you have questions, let me know.